Okay, so here we are with Kenneth Clifford, all the way from Brazil. So welcome, Ken.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, and for joining me for this interview. And yeah, for those of you new to this, it's really about awakening and the journey that takes us on. And that whole journey for everyone looks different. And that's why I love interviewing people about this journey, to see how it's taken them, where the ripple will take them to find out who they really are. So I'm going to just share a little bit about Ken, and then we're going to go into a little chat and just see what unfolds. So Kenneth has been profoundly touched by the teachings of Jesus as presented in A Course in Miracles. And by the grace of God, many transformative experiences came to enable Kenneth to hand his life over and to share the message of unconditional love. Kenneth's mission is for everyone to experience this love and to share in the joy, the laughter, the peace, and the deep stillness that abides within. Kenneth is blessed with joy, and he wants to share this with the world as we laugh away all fear together. Whoa, this is brilliant. And in 2016, Jesus told Kenneth he would be a wandering monk. And since then, he has been traveling the world, sharing Jesus's love for one and all. Wow, the wandering monk. Here we go. So this is beautiful. So I've known you a few years, Ken. Probably I knew you before you knew me by watching your shows. You used to do a show called Get Real with Kenneth. And that's how I first came across you. And it's funny, you know, because I've started watching a few recently just to get into that vibe again. And as I've been watching some of them, all the talk about the joy, it's always you. I mean, you're real, you're always real. But the joy and the laughter that comes from you, it was just, you know, it made me joyful and me laugh. So thank you for that, first and foremost. And yeah, and for joining me today. So I'd like to just sort of rewind a little bit, because I know I've heard a bit of your story, and I know that this joyful Ken that sits here now, it wasn't always like that, was it? And so, yeah, I'd love just for you to give the listener a little insight of the Ken, however many years it was back in the UK, because you're from the UK. And I know the one thing I remember was that you shared that you had a lot of anger in you. And there was I remember you talked about a particular incident where you thought you might actually kill somebody because of that anger. And that was part of the tipping point for you. So would you like to share a little bit about that Ken back then and what sort of started this journey?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, really now I see it like it was always this call for God that was really there, but I just didn't know. And it's like when we come to this world and there's not a knowing or an understanding of what our true purpose is, then we have many, many different routes that we can take. So often we can find ourselves depressed, angry, upset, hurt. And so I think the seeming bag that was brought to me to actually help me awaken was seemingly anger, because I think in the beginning I was angry at the world because it felt so unjust. It felt like we were always being unfairly treated, or I felt unfairly treated. So it seems like we're always sort of like being constrained. And I think really we're always looking for freedom in whichever way we want to be free. And so the worldly way has a limit. it's very, very limited. And so we feel limitless inside, but we don't know how to sort of tap into that. So I think we all have that feeling of there's more, there's more to me, but seemingly I can't reach that within my mind. So of course the ego creates many games. And so I think really that's probably where the anger actually probably came from, was that I felt limited, unheard, unfairly treated, not fitting in with society or the systems that are seemingly available. And so really what's underneath everything is really that idea that I'm a victim. So really we sort of, everyone seemingly comes to this world, but underneath the whole thing is I'm a victim. Yeah, that's the ego thought system, isn't it? And it's like, I'm a victim. And then the ego says, that's wonderful. Now choose your path of victimhood to walk you to death, basically. Yeah. And it depends on which way you want to stumble along that path. You might be anxious, you might be fearful, you might be depressed, you might be angry. And it's always basically that there's, I'm limited. So that's how this is actually a hypothesis. I'm guessing this is where this anger sort of came from. And of course, the trick is that this is you. So we believe in that voice in our own heads, no matter what anyone tells us about ourselves. It's really the thought system that we choose. And when you don't realize that there's another way, then you're forever beating yourself up inside and saying, well, I'm pretty terrible. And every time you seemingly fail at something, that reconfirms that you're not enough. So it's like underneath everything, if it, I was a psychotherapist as well. And I think if you could sum up the whole, the whole thing, if you ask anyone, you say, what's the problem? There's one problem, I'm not enough. So it's like, okay, then how can I be enough? And then seemingly we believe that is to do something within the world or to get somewhere within the world. And then that becomes like, but it's still never enough. There's never enough money, there's never enough friendships, there's never enough love, there's never enough joy. So yeah, I think that's probably where all the anger stemmed from, because I wanted something different. And I think like when I went to school, I just saw it all as completely pointless. I just I don't know where the thought came from, but it's kind of interesting now, because in a way it was a really deep question that I was asking myself, but without knowing that I was asking it. And I would always ask, how is this helpful? That was my question in my mind. And I was, how is this going to help me? But I didn't realize like the question that I was asking myself to a higher question, like, how is this going to help me? So going through that, I thought, this is really, really pointless. So then in that, I felt like I was failing. And so in that, because it was seemingly I was a failure, then that made me very angry that I didn't fit in to the seeming system of the world, because of course I wasn't meant to fit in to this box that so it's like the ego has the box. I'm glad we're sharing this. It's like a box, isn't there? And it's like, you need to fit into this box, and all of us, oh, this box is really, really horrible. And then it's like, no, you've got to make the best box that you possibly can. No, this doesn't feel good.
No.
That's the best that we can hope for, to fit into a box and be happy in this little box. That's pretty much life.
Yeah. And the education system, as you were saying, so that felt like you never fitted in to that at all. And I think, and So you went on somehow to train as a psychotherapist. So there must have been something in the mind that was calling you already to kind of go in that profession, I guess. But
Yeah.
I think the one thing, you know, I've interviewed quite a few people over the years, you know, about the awakening journey, because obviously for everyone it's different. It's going to look different, or how it starts, or quite often there's a catalyst, or it's a slow burner, you know, drip, 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 you know, sort of this corrosive thing eating away at us. I know for me it was a drip, 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 and then there was a catalyst that really took me on. But I know that as I say, the incident I spoke about, it really touched me when I remember you telling me about it. Is that this shift in your mind is when you were about to get into a fight in a pub, I think. Is that right? And then you wanted to kill him. Is that right? I mean, is that how you
Yeah,
felt?
yeah, of course. Yeah.
And was that the wake up, like, oh my God, this is, you know, there must have been a bit of the realization that you really were at that point where you could have killed someone.
Yeah, I think it took quite a long time to really get there with that, because it was very, very intense
The
in my
anger,
mind.
you mean,
Yeah, the
or
anger was so
yeah,
intense.
yeah,
It was violence, really. It's just
yeah,
pure violence. Violence was normal. It
mm,
seemed normal in my mind, which is incredible, really, when I think about that.
yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
was. And I think it was interesting because, like, of the time, and you know that in England, like those types of things, like having a fight down the pub was okay. That it happens, you know. It happens. It's just one of those things. So
mm,
it almost like becomes normal, and then you believe that. And probably it was, yeah, it probably got to the point, yeah, where it was like, yeah, that was the point. So it was like, I remember it was as if I was standing on a I remember it like this. I was standing on an edge of a cliff, and I thought, this is like in my mind, it was like, and it's completely and utterly dark, it's just complete darkness. And I said, okay, so where is all this going, really? Where's it going to go? So it's either drug overdose, it's either prison for whatever reason,
mm,
it's either I'm going to kill someone, you know, or someone's going to kill me, you know.
yeah,
So it was like I was looking out into that, and I thought to myself, that felt easy. That was like the easy way. That's all I really knew in my mind.
mm,
And then I don't know. This was the incredible thing, because I wasn't into anything spiritual.
right,
I didn't even know. It wasn't even on my radar at this time.
mm,
And it was as if I was standing there and I'm just looking out into this dark, and I just looked at it and I thought, wow, that's easy to be this destruction. This would be the next level of destruction that I'm choosing to take. Is
mm,
this what I really want? And then I thought to myself, I don't know where the thought came from, but I thought, wow, I really love a challenge. And I thought, I, I really, that was the thought. This is the very thoughts I remember. I thought, I really love a challenge, right? That's the easy way. What about, I said, so then I said in my mind, if there's darkness, I don't know where this come from. If
yeah,
there's darkness, there must be light.
wow.
So and then I
Oh, I
said
got
to
the
myself,
shivers. I got the shivers when
yeah.
you said that.
So
Wow.
I said, what would it be like to turn around and see if there is light? And I thought, that is the real challenge. Then let's do it.
Wow.
So then I was like, oh my God, I literally have to face everything that happened in my mind. I knew that. I knew that's what it meant. But I
Okay.
thought, but the other way is easy. Okay, so
Okay.
let's
Yeah.
let's face what happened. So it was as if in my mind I saw myself turn around and say, okay, I'm going to turn it all around.
Mm.
But I don't really know where that was coming from.
Wow.
Thank God that prayer came.
Yeah. And
That
what
was
kind of age were you then, Ken? What sort of
I
age
was
were you?
around about 21, 22.
Oh, wow. Still quite young, really, to
Yeah,
have that kind of epiphany of
yeah,
sorts.
yeah.
Okay. And
Because it
so,
was destructive. It was only going one way. There was really no further I could go with
mm,
it.
mm,
With the darkness, what the next step would literally be murder.
yeah, yeah,
That would be
yeah.
it. That would be to, progress, so to speak,
Mm,
within darkness. And it's like,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. And, at the time when I heard you talk about this and share this, and I'm so grateful because that's what's so lovely about, you sharing things, and particularly when that Get Real with Ken, it's real and raw, and I love that. And it's not something that's generally the norm in
Mm,
lots of places. But
mm,
and I think why it touched me so much was because you're an English man, and men typically in England are very quite shut down, or don't show their emotions and their feelings, right? And and I was the same too. So I don't know, it's not just men, but there's this sort of typical bravado that sort of can be around.
mm,
And yeah, a couple 2-3 years ago was for myself, my son, who was at the time probably mid-20s or something. He was going through a really, really difficult time, very just self-destructive.
mm,
And I, as a mother, witnessing that, it was hell.
mm,
Now I know a lot of it was obviously in my mind, but then I didn't really see that. And to hear you and how you turned things around, that really shifted my mind to think, well, I need to see my son differently,
mm,
right? And what was also interesting, I remember I had a chat with you um,
mm.
about him,
I remember.
and you were just, it was so light. It wasn't serious, like we've got to look into this and we've got to delve deep. And I thought, oh, it can be quite light, and that was a relief. And but also I think there was a similarity as well, because did you used to do judo as well?
Yeah.
Well, he did judo as well, and so it was like spirit brought you as my guardian angel at the time to help me to see things differently with my son. And all I can say now is the miracles that have happened is just wow, as I've changed my mind and undone my guilt, etc. There's just been the miracles has been incredible.
Mm,
So, and thank you for being part of that, to help me look at things so differently
mm,
for these beautiful young men that are here,
mm,
that are struggling. And
mm.
that's why I thought it would be so good to bring this to people. um so yeah, so I mean, in that moment when you asked a different question, I guess, or looked in a different direction, that was obviously an opening, and you obviously didn't realize that. And that
Yeah.
was
Oh, I didn't realize that.
no concept of it. Yeah, I was the
No.
same with my calling. And interestingly, I was found myself on the edge of a cliff, it, like an abyss, where
Yeah.
my big call out happened. So it's interesting. So what was the main sort of next step that came to you that sort of took you in a different direction? What came along for you?
What came along was therapy, was
Okay.
psychotherapy. Yeah. And I got a really good therapist.
Yeah.
He was a male therapist. My sister found him for me because I decided that I really needed help. And then he came along, and I was just fascinated by the whole thing.
Mm,
I realized that I was actually interested in the mind, and I didn't realize. So nothing had pointed me to that. And then it was like the first time where I really got to share my thoughts.
mm.
And then it was just every week sort of sharing my thoughts, and I made a full commitment, and I saw him for 3.5 years.
Wow.
then it was like, and then slowly I started to feel better, and I actually started to feel happy, because I really, really wasn't happy. And one of the turning points that I really, really loved, because things didn't still go quite well, because I was still, things were still happening.
Yeah.
And I'd lost my driving license, because I was drinking and driving, and so I had to start getting a bus.
Okay. But the ego didn't like that.
No, so but my mind was obviously changing. Yeah, it was like, there was a bit of a fight to shift, and no one, because I was so angry, no one would ever talk to me on the streets. I would never ever talk to anyone other than my friends. I was literally so closed off, and through all of that, become great paranoia. So I was paranoid about everybody. I saw everybody as a potential enemy. So there was a huge amount of paranoia. So there was a lot to sort of like break through. And my therapist, I don't really know what happened, but it was like he believed in me. Really, that's the therapy was done on the very first session. I shared absolutely everything, because I said, like, I could be on the verge of murder here, and I mean it. And we spoke, and he said to me, I spoke for the whole hour, and he spoke for like 2 minutes at the end. Basically, I thought, right, okay, I'm just going to share everything. So I literally shared all of my private thoughts. This is it. I thought, because I thought that there's no way I can be helped, because this is crazy, and he's going to reject me, basically. Think, my God, he's completely mad. So I shared, and at the time, he told me this later, I couldn't even look at somebody in the eyes. I had my head down the whole time, and I just shared everything. And then he said to me, he said, he said to me, well, thank you so much for sharing. Because this is all the space he had. He said, thank you so much for sharing. And he said, he said, I know, this is I remember it to this day. I can see him looking at me. I'm 21 or 22. He said, I know I can help you. So I was like this, and then he said, I know I can help. You can help me. My God, I didn't, it was like beyond. And he said, but you have to do one thing. Okay, what is it? He said, stop taking the drugs, and I will help you. I said, fair enough. So we got up. We shook hands. So I shook his hand, being manly. We shook hands, and I made that deal. I said, okay, we've got a deal. And I did. I stopped taking the drug. In that instant, I literally stopped.
Wow.
I said, okay, let's do it. And it was those words, I know I can help you. And that was really the therapy. So something went in my mind, it's like, it's God, really. I know I can help. It was beyond the words of what he said. Of course, at the time, I thought, wow, if this incredible man can help me. But those words, I know I can help you. Wow. And then that was it. So then I went religiously for 3.5 years, and we're actually friends. And at times he gave me free sessions, and I learned to be a therapist. And I said, why did you give me those free sessions? We don't normally do that. And he said, I never had anyone as young as you commit and come every single week. And so I just wanted to honor your commitment, because I knew like it was a lot of money to you, because I was paying for it all myself. So he said, I knew that this was costing you a lot of money, and I wanted to honor your commitment. So it was incredible. But what one shift that I love, so you can imagine where I was, and then slowly, obviously a few things in the 3.5 years that happened, losing my driving license, but that was actually a blessing in disguise, because I had to be more in seeming society. So I had to get the bus. So I'm at this bus stop, I'm standing at the bus stop, and this old lady comes along, and she sits down, and I'm just standing up waiting for the bus, and I hear, excuse me, do you know the time of the next bus? right? I've had no one talk to me in God knows how long in the streets because of
Wow.
and I'm like, I'm like, my mind couldn't compute. I'm like, am I hearing voices or something? So I look to the left, there's no one there. I'm like, there's no one there. I look to the right, there's no one there. And I look forward and I say, excuse me, do you know when the next bus is? Right. And so I turn right the way behind me and there's a little lady. She's, really old lady with her little handbag and everything. And she looks up at me, right? But I'm still flabbergasted that she's talking to me. So she obviously sees I'm bewildered and she goes, so I just like stare at her and she goes, excuse me, has the number 23 come along yet? I goes, hold on a minute, let me have a look for you. So I said, it hasn't come since I've been standing here. So I look on the thing. Oh yeah, it'll be along in 11:24. We got 6 minutes. Thank you, dear. I said, thank you. And I turned back round. And in that moment, I thought, my God, someone just spoke to me. So it was like, in that instant, that's where I saw the shift. I thought, oh my God. She felt it was, I realized, because obviously it was to do with my own self-hatred. Everything that was happening to me was just pure self-hatred towards myself. It was a destructive nature within inside of me that was just eating me up. And I thought, oh my God, she trusted me to ask me that question. She didn't see me as a threat. And I was like, maybe this shift is really happening, because of course I was still questioning, am I getting anywhere with all of this? Because then of course when you start undoing all of the anger and everything, then what was covering it up, I was extremely anxious, really, really, really anxious. That then started to come to the surface. And then I just felt so much shame, just relentless shame. And what was the other thing? And it was like, so insecurity was just, obviously that just covered up my insecurity. And I just felt low self-esteem wasn't the word. Inside, I was completely worthless, so to speak. Yeah, completely worthless, like the bottom of the bottom. And this is now what I actually had to face, was all of those feelings. And obviously that's what I was really running away from. So I knew I had to undo Pandora's box. And so it's been going through those levels of emotions, if we want to call it, that were literally just killing me, quite frankly. And so she was so let's be honored to my dear friend. She doesn't know that she was that was the first thing I thought, oh my God, something's happened. So she was she witnessed my own mind and showed me the shift, like, you are changing.
Beautiful. And it is these moments, isn't it? Now I know, I'm sure you see it as I can see it now, but the way Spirit orchestrates everything for our awakening so perfectly. But when we're in it, the early stages, we haven't got a clue. But like that little angel, that lady coming, in that moment, never see her again, nothing. And I know I've had the same, certain people that have come in and they could never know what they did, for me as well. But at the time, you've got no idea. So yeah, it's beautiful, really, really beautiful. Yeah, so I know, obviously, I guess at some point, A Course in Miracles found you, because I know obviously that's your path now. So doing the psychotherapy and the training as well, how did the course then come into your life? How did that sort of move you forward?
Yeah, it came through this prayer, which I thank God is so I trained to be a Gestalt psychotherapist in London, and my training in total was like for 7 years. I went from different places until finally I went to London. And then it was, I found it so fascinating. And the funny thing is I didn't realize again what I was calling for. So the spiritual was sort of like, it was like part of it. It was lightly part of it. And I was intrigued by it, but I wouldn't say I was completely set on it. People would be sharing experiences to me and I'd think, well, that's pretty fascinating. So I became more fascinated and open-minded, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I still thought, this is still a little bit wacky, so to speak. Is that
Mm-hmm.
really sort of happening? But it was interesting. These witnesses were always coming, and they were always there trying to show me something different. But the prayer, I think why the Course in Miracles came is because I trained to be a therapist, and I thought, I want to heal people, really heal them. I thought I want it, and I didn't realize that. I didn't realize what I was praying for, and I thought I want real healing. So, and I was blessed to have many therapists from around the world would come to the Gestalt Center, and they would do weekends for us, teach us. So I was really, really blessed to have these incredible therapists around us. And I always had one question, and then after it was all finished, I'd go up to them and I'd say, how do we heal? And they said, I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
I said, how does healing take place? How does that happen? I said, we don't know.
Wow.
I said, sometimes there's magical spiritual moments where things seem to happen, but really, we really don't know what the cause is. And I thought, how come we don't know? If we can, so in my mind, I'm very simple thinking. So I think, well, if I can find that answer, then I find the answer, don't I?
Yeah.
You know, I don't need the rest of it. Also, I think, how do we heal? That's the only question I have to answer. We don't know how it happens. And I thought, well, I'm going to, kind of a bit arrogant.
That's your mission, my mission.
I'm going to find out
Wow.
how we heal. If I can find that, then I can be really helpful, because I thought, you know, that idea, I thought, who wants to be a prisoner to this all of their life? Who wants to live with this? Like, okay, you might be able to accept it a bit more. Yeah, you might be able to integrate it, but it's like, no, I don't want to integrate it. I want to be free. You know, that doesn't sound like freedom to me. So there must be a way. So I didn't realize I was calling for these things. Can you imagine it?
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to know what healing is. And then a new friend turned up in my psychotherapy training, because she had a year off. She did year 1 and year 2. Then she had a year off. And so by now I'm in year 3. She comes back and she comes into year 3 and she says, oh, there's this dancing called 5 Rhythms Dancing. And it was created by Gabrielle Roth, who was a Gestalt psychotherapist. And she said, oh, it's incredible. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
And so because it was related, I was really frightened. But there, I met this girl. And at the time, I felt like we were talking about heart opening. I was thinking, like, I was reading things like this and I thought, I don't even know what my heart is. I don't even know what that is. There was like a sadness inside of me. Yeah. And I thought, what is it like to really feel your heart? I think I'm still exploring that now. Like, truly, what is that? So I thought, and as I would hear people talk, and I would think, yeah, my heart, I feel closed off in my heart. So I kind of got to this point, I'm closed off in my heart. So I met this girl, and she says to me, she said to me those exact words. She said, we never spoke. You don't speak during a dance. But then afterwards, she comes up to me and she says, can I tell you something? And I said, absolutely. She says, your heart is closed off, but I have the answer. She said, it's called A Course in Miracles. They talk about God, Jesus, and Holy Spirit, but don't worry, it's okay. And that's how it came. And somehow I could hear it. And I said, yeah, I want to hear about it. So that's how it came. Through that.
Yeah. Another angel.
Yeah, another angel. She literally just appeared out of nowhere. She was in my life for a little period of time, then went.
Yeah.
We're still friends to this day. And it was like, oh my God, because I didn't realize that first question. Well, there were many questions, because first of all, I thought, I want peace. I started meditating, and I thought, they told me you need to have a goal of meditation. Okay, but I'd like to be more peaceful. So I had peace. Then in the therapy, I thought, I want to learn this healing. Obviously, I wanted to heal people. I didn't know that. I want to heal people. I want to really, really help people. I want to know what real healing is. Yeah. And I want to open up my heart. So obviously now, as I'm telling you this, I'm remembering this myself because I've never even seen it. And then here's the answer. The Course in Miracles. One book.
Yeah.
I can answer the whole thing for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this asking it is given, although I don't know about you, but I wasn't consciously asking, I didn't quite realize. I think quite often it's out of pain, isn't it? Or desperation, or
exactly.
And then how spirit brings in everything. I can relate so much to what you're saying. I really can. And there's so many similarities, because when I got to a certain point in my journey, I didn't know I was awakening. I didn't even know what it meant. But this beautiful angel came into my life called Sarah, and she really helped in so many ways. And she introduced me to the Course. But before that, I remember going for a reading with her and a session with her. And one of the first things she said to me, she said, the angels have told me that your heart is like a stone. And I went, oh, thanks. That's really nice to hear. And but I had to be like, and I never thought about my heart, but I thought she was right. It was so closed and hard. And then she channeled something from my late brother, and that started to crack it open. I started to cry tears that I'd never cried before. But the same thing, to be told that, it was like the ego was insulted. My heart's like a stone, but she was right. And again, these amazing people that come in to help us take each step that we don't even know we need, really.
Exactly.
And it is beautiful, isn't it? When you start to look back and you see the stepping stones and join the dots, and you think, wow, I couldn't have orchestrated that. Like, you couldn't have sat down and said, I'm going to do this, and this. It just doesn't happen, does it? Wow. No. I love it. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you came across the Course in Miracles. So was that the kind of the blossoming of, would you say, your spiritual journey as such? Did that sort of start to open up?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that then I had something to grasp onto, for sure. Yeah, because it also came as another prayer, because now I had started to open up a little bit more to new ideas and everything like this, and more spiritual ideas. So I'd started reading different spiritual books, and I was more fascinated by it. But the one thing that stood out was unconditional love. And I thought, so I actually didn't even know it existed. I didn't even know what it meant. So unconditional love. Wow, that sounds incredible. And so I sort of like got scattered around and was led to different books, Buddhism, Hinduism, many different things. And as I went further into the book, they said, there's this experience called oneness, and the experience of oneness is unconditional love for everything. Wow. And then every single book led to that basic thought. And so because I was training to be a therapist, and obviously we're trying to find the answer, aren't we? We're being open. And I thought, this is incredible. That in psychotherapy, we argue over the theories, we write all these different papers and all of these things. But here, okay, the religions and all that lot, we understand they argue for no reason. But if you read them, they all point to this experience. And in my mind, I still remember sitting there. I didn't know what it meant. I thought, my God, this is so fascinating that they're not arguing over this. No one in spirituality who has gone far enough in their mind can argue with oneness and unconditional love. You'll never find anybody that you can argue with about that as an experience on a true spiritual path. And I thought, this is absolutely fascinating. How can then so many seeming people believe in the same thing? And I thought, then it could be true. So I remember the day I was sitting on my sofa. I was in London. I'm sitting on the sofa, and I'm just basically reflecting on life. I'm more in this reflective place. As you said, I didn't know, really what I was saying. And I thought to myself, I sat there and thought, if this exists, if unconditional love exists, then that would be the greatest gift that you could give to the world. I thought that to love everyone unconditionally, to love everything unconditionally, that has to be the highest purpose. I didn't even know this. This could be the greatest gift. And so I thought, this is what my life is going to be. I'm going to dedicate my life to unconditional love. That seems like a worthy cause. And so then that's how it all came about, and that goal has never changed since that day. It's always, so I'm kind of grateful for that, because sort of no matter what happens along the way, I can always go back to, this is all happening because of the ultimate goal, to unconditionally love everything. So that's seemingly what this life is for.
Yeah, beautiful. And again, this calling, although again, it's not, we could never know steps we have to seemingly take to realize that. But it's like there is the prayer of the heart, even though we maybe don't quite realize the impact of that. But that then spirit goes, okay, here we go. Now we're going to start the journey to take you to that. And again, my prayer, I didn't really understand prayer back then, but again, my beautiful angel Sarah, she said, I was in bits, my life just fallen apart, and she said to me, if the only prayer you have, Anne-Marie, is show me the truth, then it's a pretty good prayer. But she said, you've got to mean it. And that was my prayer, and I meant it, and I had no concept what it really meant, the truth, but I meant it, and I could feel it, and I think when you, like you said, Ken, when you really, there's something that just clicks, it's like you don't quite understand it, but there's like something in your nose, and that prayer, now when I look back, oh my goodness, to really, to know the truth. It's just, and again, the steps that then had to come in, if I knew then, I would think, oh my God, really? I've got to go along these steps. But so grateful. So we can never underestimate, I think, that desire of the heart. That sort of, feels real blessing, these beautiful things that come in. So I'm sure there's been obviously many parts to that discovery, but so I know one of the key things for you was obviously you found the course, and then eventually somehow you must have discovered David Hoffmeister and the Living Miracles community, because I know you went to live in the community, didn't you? So what was the kind of the transition, that next kind of phase?
That phase, So really, Jesus started to come more and more and more into my life, and I saw that prayer of unconditional love was real. like your prayer. It was more than a prayer. You know, you didn't even know that it was more than a prayer. It wasn't words. And your friend Sarah was incredible watching, saying, no, you have to mean it.
Yeah.
And so that was the words that really resonated with you. And obviously your inquiring mind is like, I want to know the truth. That was the word. Because it wasn't a word, it was everything, really. Everything was in that for you, and you didn't even know it at the time. It was deep. And so the same for me was the unconditional love, was because it was the opposite of what I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
So I thought, this goes against everything of the world. Like I don't see unconditional love. So I thought, wow, that's a tall order. And again, it was like that challenge, you know, in my mind. I seemingly always like this challenge. I thought that would be incredible. And then slowly over time, I saw that in what I was doing was not it. It was like I was limited again, and there was far more, but I didn't know what that meant. And so when the Course in Miracles came and I went further into it, and it was like I knew that my life wasn't my own any longer, and I thought I would have those conversations with Jesus, not that I knew that really that was happening. And I said, this is far more than I can imagine. And he said, yes. Well, but we can't see it yet, can we? No. And it's funny, these times I remember I was walking along, I was in Spain, and I was walking along near where the boats are, a harbour, and we were walking along, and I thought, this life's going to be an adventure, but we don't know what the adventure is. And he said, yeah, that's it. And obviously, even at the time, I still thought it was a bodily adventure, but it was more, yeah, you're going to adventure with me into your mind, and you're going to be able to let go of all these things, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun for you, you know. So it was like, wow, there's going to be this adventure. So this sounds exciting. And then it was like, so the life that I'm living now is not my life. He said, no, that's not your life. And I could hear it. I thought, wow, this is incredible. I didn't know what I was hearing. And then it's like, yeah, you can let everything go, because this is going to be the greatest gift that you can give to everyone. And I was like, everything. Yeah, everything. Let it all go. And then my first question was, even family? And he said, yeah, you need to let it all go. And I was like, wow, this is deeper than I could ever imagine. And he said, this is serving everyone. This will serve everyone. And then, I don't know whether you know her, Saint Catherine of Siena, she left her family, and this little message came from her, and she said, when she left, Jesus said, yeah, leave your family. She said, but Jesus, promise me you'll take care of everyone. And Jesus said, I promise, everyone is coming with you, but you've got to come with me first. So it was like it felt like a huge step. So there was like this, I was really being with it all and being like, wow, how can I really, really do this? But something was saying that this was the answer. And in actual fact, I read it the other day. I can read it to us, the reason. Then he gave it to me in A Course in Miracles. And in 191. And I was like, okay, this is real. I was reading this part, and then this is when I gave it over. And he says in here, where do we go down to? Here we go. So this is 191, and this session, this lesson is called I Am the Holy Son of God Himself. And so this was the bit that really got me. He said, "Your glory is the light that saves the world. Do not withdraw salvation longer. Look about the world and see the suffering there. Is not your heart willing to bring your weary brothers rest? They must await your own release. They stay in chains till you are free. They cannot see the mercy of the world until you find it in yourself. They suffer pain until you have denied its hold on you. They die till you accept your own eternal life. You are the Holy Son of God himself. Remember this, and all the world is free. Remember this, and earth and heaven are one."
Right.
And so after I read that, and I sat in prayer with him, and I said to him, "So Jesus, what you're saying is, if I continue to play the role within the box that I am right now, I'm imprisoning everyone to death." And he said, "That's exactly what I'm saying. That's why you have to come with me." I said, "Okay, I'm yours." And then that's how it all, that from that prayer, that's how it all happened. I thought, wow, you're doing this for everyone, for the whole. I didn't know what that meant. And then literally everything, like my whole life literally just started to fall apart so easily, effortlessly. Everything just fell apart. And then one day I woke up in the morning. I said to Jesus, "I am yours. Anything." And then about 2 months later, I wake up in the morning again. It's like those moments I remember. It's clear as it's happening to me now. It was a beautiful sunny day in England, so it's a very rare day.
Don't know what you mean.
Yeah. And I woke up, and it was as if before I'd even woken up, he said, "Go to Mexico." And that was it. I spoke to my friend Lisa, and it was as quick as that. She matched my desire. She said, "Come." That's it, really. "Come, you're welcome." And then that was it. Yeah. And then I went, and I've been living in the Living Miracles community for seven years. Yeah, I've been living there for 7 years. And so people have said to me, "How have you stayed for 7 years?" I said, "Jesus never told me to leave. He sent me. He hasn't told me to leave. So until that point, I follow him and what he wants." Yeah. So that's where we are now. That's led to these travels.
Yeah. So for those of you lovely people listening, the Living Miracles community, they have a place in Mexico, Lake Chapala, and obviously they have a monastery in Utah. So you'd obviously connected with that community, with David's teachings, David Hoffmeister's teachings, and then you got the message to go to the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 7 years in the community, that's a dedication, isn't it? But as you said, I mean, you'd given your life to Jesus, so there you were. And I can imagine for a lot of people who don't quite understand this deeper calling, it sounds like you had, in the world, to the ego, give up things. And I know that can bring a lot of resistance to the ego in people. But I mean, I know what the answer is going to be, but I'm going to ask anyway for people who are listening. Have you sacrificed anything?
At times it feels like it has felt like a sacrifice.
At times it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really it's like what's being offered, you know, like you said, it's going to feel like a sacrifice. It's going to feel like a sacrifice to the ego.
Yeah.
But what's been given is far greater than that.
Yeah.
Far greater than the seeming sacrifice. It seemed like a sacrifice, but then more was given.
Yeah.
You know, have you seen that picture of like Jesus whereby he's got a huge great teddy bear behind him and he's saying to the little girl, give me your little teddy bear, and she can't see the big teddy bear, and so she's holding on to it, and he's like, I've got a bigger teddy bear for you that you can't see, you know. And it's almost like that. So of course every step, in the beginning it wasn't though. In the beginning it was so obvious that my life wasn't my own, that it fell apart so easily, so effortlessly, because it just didn't mean anything any longer. It was meaningless, because it was like my life and my business, my things, and it just to look at them just thought, God, this is so pointless. This just doesn't mean anything. It's completely meaningless, really. And there's so much more. And because I knew it was him that was calling me, then in the beginning, I think it got harder. That it's got harder, yeah. But that first phase of letting go of material things was actually really, really easy. It all fell away so smoothly, easily, quickly. And then money as well. What are you going to do? Giving up your job and everything like that. So completely everything. But I guess this isn't for everyone. This is what I try and share with everyone. This isn't everyone's journey. This was just whatever was given to me because of the attachments that I had to these things. I'm sharing this as I share now. It's like let it all go and be led by me. And so that's what I had to do, to show that to myself that I am completely sustained by the love of God. And so I wanted to really take these lessons in and take it on when he says that you believe you are sustained by money, by friendship, economics, all these things he shares in the book. He shares them all. All of this is above, I am sustained by the love of God. And it's like, well, I really want to experience that as a direct experience. It's, okay, great. Let's do that. And it's the same in that I am under no laws but God's, you know. So for me, it's never ever been about the words. It's always been about the experience. Show me that truly. I want to know what these teachings truly are, not just in words, because we could say that. I mean, apparently, like, this is what I went to Europe, and I did this lesson with everybody. Said, I am sustained by the love of God. And I said, you know, apparently this is the most favorite lesson in A Course in Miracles.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite ones.
Everybody loved it. Yeah, I love that lesson. And I said, but are you doing it?
Yeah.
You can love it all you like, but are you living by what it teaches? You know, we can just share that. The first thing, I was like, wow, when I first read it, I thought, my God, this is incredible. This is like next level stuff. And he says, Here is the answer to every problem that will confront you today and tomorrow and throughout time. In this world, you believe you are sustained by everything but God. Your faith is placed in the most trivial and insane symbols: pills, money, protective clothing, influence, prestige, being liked, knowing the right people, and an endless list of forms of nothingness that you endow with magical powers.
Doesn't mess his words, does he, Jesus?
No, no, he doesn't mess around. So it's like, wow,
yeah.
What truly. So it's like, I still don't know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what does that mean truly as a demonstration of God's love?
Mm-hmm.
I am sustained by the love of God. I guess that's what we're all finding out.
Yeah. And as you say, when I first read that lesson, it really warmed my heart. I thought, oh, wow, is that really possible?
Yeah.
But again, there was something in it that just, I could feel the truth in it. And I think it's interesting, the course also says that it's a individualized curriculum, i.e. we're going to, like you said, your journey took you to Mexico to live in community, and everyone. And I think that can be, when we hear those kind of stories, it can be to the ego very frightening. Oh my God, have I got to give everything up? But I think what has comforted me was, that whatever's needed, you will be given it in wherever you are. You don't have to give your home up, your family necessarily. That is, for some people, that is the journey. And I know for myself, for example, it's the healing that has happened here and is continuing to happen here with people that Jesus brings me is incredible. So I think it's good to sort of reassure people that when we really do surrender and trust, the steps will be given that are right for us. Yeah. Because otherwise it can elicit a lot of fear, can't it? And that can then we can shut down. Because I know I have, certainly in the past. It's like, oh my God, that's too big.
Yeah. Because the thing is like, there will be certain things that you are asked to let go of, but then you'll realize that you'll gain it all, and you'll get everything will shift. So when Jesus said to me, you need to let go of your family, what he meant was is in how you're doing it, it cannot be healed. That's what he really meant. So we stay, don't we? It's like in relationships, we stay in a relationship and we're trying to heal it here, and it's literally impossible. And seemingly family is one of the impossible ones, because we're seemingly stuck with one another. We say, well, at least I can choose my friends, that old saying, but we're family, how do we do it? And it's like, we have to let Jesus come in. And Jesus said, the reason why he said that to me was, you cannot heal it at the level that you're trying to heal it. And now literally, so then it seemed like this split, it seemed like there was this separation. And then this is where this confusion comes in. They say, how is that A Course in Miracles? This is separation. You separated away from your family. No, it's not in the form. It's far greater than that. And so we had to go through our healing process with my family, really. But seemingly I had to go in this direction. And everyone comes with you. And so here's an example of this. So you can imagine what it brought up. There was lots of rejection, lots of abandonment, lots of hatred, lots of anger within the family that we've had to face. I could spend all day going over it. We all know what that's like. But I can just share the end point. The other day, a friend who I hadn't spoke to in ages, in years, a really good friend of mine, bumped into my mum and dad down on the seafront. He doesn't even live in Portsmouth where I was seemingly born. Yeah, he was there. And he said, he messaged me, he said, oh my God, I bumped into your mum and dad, had the biggest hugs ever. By the way, before all this, we never hugged anyone I had the biggest hugs ever. Yeah. And your mum and dad are so proud of you. They are fully in support of everything you're doing. They just shared deep, deep gratitude for you and everything you're doing. And even the last time when I was at home, my mum said to me, here is not for you, Kenneth. The world needs you. You must continue on. You have our full blessing. They never asked me, are you coming home for Christmas? What are you doing on your birthday? Can you come to this? Do you want to go on this holiday? None of that any longer. No. They say, we don't understand it, but we know it's important. You have our full blessing. And that's where it can go to, because this is a blessing far greater than any of us can have.
Yeah.
And then, for example, with my mum, her lesson from it all, which I didn't know because I was always trying to help her, she was trying to help me, like what we do. We didn't get very far. And then through me seeing leaving, she messages me one day and said to me, wow, Kenneth, we don't speak as much. You're not even in the country, but I feel closer to you than ever before. And she said, you know what? I've seen you living your life and following your heart. And I realized that I wasn't following my heart and I wasn't living my life. And now I want to live my life too. Thank you. So that's the undoing of sacrifice. So in the beginning, it says, leave your family. What do you think I felt? Of course, it felt like a sacrifice. Yeah. But then look at this. I'm like, oh my God, can you imagine it?
Yeah.
Even last week, I think was the first time I called them. Yeah. And before it would be, when are you coming home? This hasn't happened in like probably over a year now. And now it's, where are you now? What's happening? What are you doing? You're in Brazil? How did you get there? Everyone comes along.
Joy. And there's the healing, you wanted to really understand healing. And now there's the ripple. That's what I see, like we follow our heart, we do the work we need to do, we trust it. And yes, there's a few feathers ruffled and things happen, of course, as everything is shaken up. But it's like when you see that ripple, that you have no idea how that's going to touch someone and then touch someone else, and so it goes on, and we have no concept of how far that ripple goes. And just as you were talking about your family, just briefly, like the healing that's happened in my family, with my two children. So with my son that I was telling you about the other day, we had a phone call. I said, how are you doing? Because he loves his work. He's very passionate about what he does. I said, how's the work? He says, oh, it's great, Mum. He says, it's really, 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 really great. And I went, what, really? And he was like, what's going on then? And then, oh my God, this touched my heart. I can't tell you. He said, Mum, he said, I called a meeting with my manager and their manager because things weren't right. Things weren't being spoken. I was seeing things I wasn't happy with. So I called a meeting. And he said, I've got you to thank for this. He said, because I went in there and he said, right, we're not doing any people pleasing here. We're going to say everything we feel. And he said, and I'm going to say exactly what I feel. And this was not personal. And he shared everything that he'd been seeing and was upset about. And he said, I had a few tears. He said, but they all listened. And he said, by the end of it, one of them was a little bit, not unsure, but he said, look, this is for all of us, because as we all can share and be honest, it's going to help everybody. And by the end of it, you know, they're all shaking hands. And he said the whole energy of his team, the environment, he said it's just all changed because of this laying everything. And he said, Mum, he said, I said everything. I didn't hold back one thing. And he said, I feel a lot lighter. I said, I bet you do. And again, you know, my heart, I was in tears because I thought, my God, you know, there's the ripple. Because I've been honest with my kids. We're not doing private thoughts. We're not doing people pleasing. And yes, was it difficult to start with? Oh, yeah. But it's like, I can't compromise on that. And now to see like that he shared that with me, to me, I thought, my God, that's a miracle, you know, that he had the courage to do that. And so this is it. It's like, I could never have envisaged that. And like with your family, it's just so beautiful, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's so beautiful.
I think because it's like wherever I go, it's really funny because like this circumstance of family comes up, and it's almost like what I had to go through is like, wow, and it all got healed. So it seems like this sacrifice done it. So as you said, the ego, you had to leave your family. I'm not doing that, you know. And then it's like, yeah, but look at all the steps and look at all what happened is far greater. We have the greatest relationships that we can have, you know. On our last call, you know, like you can get into that habit of saying, I love you, you know, and I love you, you know, it's pointless. You know, when they tell me they love me now, I hear it actually from them. They say, I love you. And it's really, we're getting in touch with his love, the deeper love that is touching absolutely everyone, that I have no control over that whatsoever. I don't know where the miracle needs to go. And in staying, if you look at it now, if I stayed, that would have stumped the whole miracle. Yeah. And now the whole thing is that everyone has been blessed. And then from that experience, this is what I've seen, is that demonstration. And then others have said, if you did it, I can do it. And then I've literally witnessed that and to see that it is literally blessed the whole. And that's what it will do. And that's what it will do. So the thing is I always share. So it feels like a sacrifice. But the thing is everybody knows what they have to do. Everyone knows. Everyone knows the step that they have to take. But the thing is you don't take the step and you feel it and it seems like a sacrifice, but there's some sort of excitement underneath it. It's almost like, you know, when you're like, it's like being a child and there might be a piece of equipment that you're frightened of because it looks too big for you, and your parents encourage you and you say, you can do it. You think, oh my God, I can't climb that ladder and go down that slide. It's absolutely massive. You know, when you're 4 years old, it's like climbing Mount Everest. Like, oh my God. And you go up and your legs are shaking and you get to the top. Oh my God. And it's like, we're going down, and then you go down and and you slide down. That was incredible. And then before you're running around and you can't wait. You can't wait to get back up to it. And it's like that, you know, it's like you have the step and it says, this is what needs to happen because it's going to serve the whole. You say, I always pray and I say, okay, I will take the step. Promise me this is going to serve everyone. Yes, it will serve everyone. Okay, I will take the step and it will bless the whole. I guarantee you. You are hearing the voice. You are hearing it and you know exactly what you need to do. And in doing that, you are truly blessing. And then the joy comes from it. Like when we encourage the child, we see our child go down the slide and we get so much joy. Wow, you did it. And we praise them in that way, but we're just rejoicing in the joy together. And really that's what the step is. So in the beginning, the ego says this is a sacrifice, but underneath it is all of this joy.
Exactly.
So my task is always to encourage everyone to take that step.
Mm.
And it's like, even as we're talking, because people are going to listen, you know what that step is, and I am fully behind you in that. And you can take that step and know that it is a blessing, no matter how it looks.
Mm. Yeah, it's beautiful. And so now, I mean, you're in Brazil, and I know last year you were in Europe, sort of sharing these teachings and the gifts that of this way of living. Now as the wandering monk, you know, to share the joy, to share the waking up. And so that for you now is just literally, as you've just said, you know, it's this prayerful life and opening up to hearing the guidance of the next step, and how the situations, the opportunities come to you.
Yeah.
And that's now how you live your life. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
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 Sounds amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I really don't know how it happened. I mean, really, I'm grateful for the teacher, David Hoffmeister, because, you know, he's really encouraged me and joined me in prayer. And so really from those prayers, he's seen really that the mind is more expansive than I could ever see. So all of this happens through prayer. And then it was said that I would go traveling, and that I would now be sustained by the love of God, and I would learn divine providence, and that everything would be given to me. Now, the day before he shared that with me, he said, yeah, you are to go, you are to share, and you will be taken care of. This is the next development of trust. The day before, if you'd have asked me, I'd have said, no way am I ready. I definitely am not in that state of mind. But from that prayer, it was like, okay, this is what's given as a direction. So often, you know, like what we talked about, we don't feel that we're expansive enough to take these steps. So I guess this is what we're sharing now. You are, you are far more expansive than you can ever imagine. And then from that experience, that's how that started to all unfold. So I would never have said that I was ready for it. And then, then everything started to come. So from that, I've never put on a retreat. I've never put on a gathering. They've all come. I never hired a room. It's just literally someone has asked, would I like to do something? Or there's been suggestions of things. And then from that, it's like, yes, we would like that to happen. But I've never technically put on anything. And it's literally through him and saying, I want to be a blessing. I don't know what that means. This is what it looks like for seeming me. But really, that's just a beautiful prayer, because you are the blessing, and we all are the blessing, and we don't know where our blessing needs to go, but we can just open up and say, okay. And so now this is how this has been led. And then that's when I remembered, because what happened is I was getting so many invites, and then people were saying, who is he? So I had to keep writing things. I'm not very organized in this way. This is getting really tiring, writing all of these things. And I thought, maybe I need a website. The miracle of it all, the website was created in 2 hours, which was a miracle. Yeah,
That is a miracle.
I messaged my friend Jean Wilmot. So check her out. She can build websites, incredibly beautiful websites. And said to her, hey, can you help me? She said, absolutely. I had a full download of all of the content and pages. I did all that. I sent it to her. Then she said, I have the idea of what it's going to look like for you. Yeah. I said, great, go ahead. She did it all. And then she said, here's the template. I said, oh my God, it's more than I imagined, than I expected. So basically the whole thing was built within 2 hours. right? And then just the bulk of it was just like tweaking it. And now we've been building on it. I haven't, the same again, I haven't done anything on there. And she said to me, I want to start, she said, I want to start transcribing your talks and making them into blogs. I said, yeah, do as you will. So the blogs on there, I haven't even done them either. They've just come from the talks and blog. So it's just expanding and expanding, and I'm literally not doing anything. And so that's where the name came back, because she said, well, what's the website going to be? And that's how the story of the Wandering Monk came in. So I said, thewanderingmonk.org. And so when I went to the Living Miracles community for the first time in 2016, I went to America. And on the very last day, me and my friend Lisa Fair, we were walking through the corridor of the center back then, and we're walking along, and we're halfway through the corridor, and it's amazing. To this day, she probably never knows why she asked me this question. All of a sudden, we stop in the middle of the hallway, and she turns around to me and she says, what do you want to be? And straight out of my mouth, from nowhere, I'd never thought of this, she said, what do you want to be? And I said, a wandering monk. Right? Right? And then she said, well, you already are, because you've come from the UK to America. And I said, oh yeah. So that's how that name came in. And it was like, wandering, wow, I'm a wandering monk. So that completely and utterly left me. And sometimes it would come to me, because it was a beautiful experience. You know, you can feel the lightness in it. So then when it came down to the website, I wanted it to be fun, you know, to be something like, okay, what is it? Kenneth, Clifford, you know what? Okay, it's pretty boring. thewanderingmonk.org. So that's how it all came about. And I hardly built the website. It's all running on its own. Jean is doing incredible things in the background. She puts up all the events and everything on there. And now it's like a little place where you can go and you can just see some of the experiences, read the blogs and things.
It's all on there. All provided for.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So
if
what
it serves the plan, it will be good. That's it. And this is the incredible thing. It's like all the doors are open to you. All the doors are open to you. And you just have to say, Jesus or whoever, Buddha, follow whoever you like. It doesn't really matter. Open the doors to me. I want to share your love, and you will be amazed. Then it doesn't come from you. It's just incredible. Yeah. So I'm eternally blessed. I guess I'm learning trust and I'm learning faith.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you. Wow.
Thank you.
Just so inspiring. And yeah, it just, you know, it just touches my heart how this journey, you know, takes us, you know. We could never, you couldn't have sat down when you know, you were at school in that box. Oh yeah, I know what I'm going to do when I grow up. I'm going to be a wandering monk. I mean, it's just, you know, and here you are living this, you know, this joyful life. And I know it's not always been easy, because you have to do the inner work. But as you say, this is what I hope people will feel touched by this and inspired. Yes, there's going to be dark times, and yes, we've got to look at this stuff. But you know, then once it's brought to the light, we are lighter. We feel the lightness, and as you said, we can share that. And there's the gift. There's the joy. So thank you for
thank you, Anne-Marie.
for saying yes. You know, I mean, it's just been a joy to connect with you again, Ken. So thank you.
You too. Thank you so much for everything, and thank you so much for being in my life. And I'm so grateful, because I remember the first call that we had about your son, and we just connected, because you'd been watching the Get Reels, and then since then we did retreats at your house, didn't we?
Yeah.
We did 2.
Yeah.
We did 2 there, and now we're still connected. So thank you.
Always
Thank
connected.
you
Yeah.
so
Bless
much.
you. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you for everything that you're doing, and the
And
love
you.
that
And
you're
you.
giving out is really, really beautiful. And all the ones that you've brought into my life, and to do this together, I feel so blessed. So thank you so much for everything.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's just a joy. It just, it's to see how the journey unfolds, and that you're just living this amazing life and touching people. It's meaningful, it's, as you say. So so down below in the box there will be full information about the wandering monk, if you want to check him out on an amazing website. And all his information will be down there. And bless you all, and thank you, Ken, and we send lots of love. And if anyone wants to contact you, then they can. So thank you.
Love you.
Love you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm just gonna have to pause the recording.